In today's show, even with all the injuries and all the obvious excuses, that was a bad loss in New Orleans. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, we're talking about a bad loss for the Trailblazers. A 143-120 beatdown at the hands of the previously 3-22 New Orleans Pelicans. Now, a whopping 4-22. One of the truly bad teams. A shorthanded team, a young team, a team with where things have really gone awry for them, and they handled the Blazers in a game that was not competitive in the fourth quarter. We'll talk about some positives. I think the French connection, Sidi Sissoko and Ryan Rupert had their best games, and there's reason to see obvious silver linings there. But I think the real takeaway from this game is that this thing was a mess. This is a messy game, and even with there are tons of injuries. Blazers playing without their centers. They've been playing without their point guards for a month now, or 3 weeks rather. Even with all that built in, this was a straight up bad loss. Was this the worst loss of the season? I don't know. And quite frankly, I don't feel the need. I am not compelled to rank it. Whether you think the losing to the Lakers with none of their guys is worse than losing this particular one-off game in New Orleans is worse, or some third game that didn't come to mind when I was thinking about this. Sure, whatever. But the point is that as you get deeper into the season, more bad losses feel worse. And this one feels worse. This one, to me, feels like sort of a more symptomatic of the Blazers' sort of larger challenges than just like hey, they stunk tonight. The good thing about the NBA is you get more opportunities to do it, to sort of right the ship, but this one was not a good one. We'll get into our fastest recap in the West and do everything we do. Let's start there, though. Blazers down 9 right away. Pelicans up 39-30 after 1. New Orleans scored 26 points in the paint in the opening quarter. 26 points in the paint in the opening quarter. Blazers give up, north of 50 in a game, as a fairly normal amount, but 26 in the opening quarter. The Pelicans took 28 shots in the first quarter. 22 of them were in the paint. Rim. And part of that is just the obvious injury report stuff. Donovan Clingan, who had already been ruled out, did not play. And prior to the game, Young Hansen, who was listed as questionable, did not play. He missed the game with a face contusion. And Rob Williams missed the game with an illness. Now, Rob did not play Sunday with that same illness, and then was, according to Tiago Splitter, a full participant in practice on Tuesday prior to traveling to New Orleans. I anticipated that Rob would play, even if it was a little bit. So I'm surprised that the coach said he was a full participant in practice, then he did not play when he was sick. Who knows? Maybe he didn't. I'm sure he didn't feel well, right? And maybe he felt worse, is what I was trying to say. Impossible to know, but I found that a bit surprising. But without Rob, without Donovan Clingan, even without Hansen, just to be big in the middle and soak up some minutes, they're small, and the Blazers are tiny in this game. They're starting Jeremy Grant, Toumani Camara, Chris Murray, Denny Avdia, and Shaedon Sharpe. They're saying, okay, this is we're gonna play small ball because it's the only type of ball we can play. We're gonna put some good defenders on the court with Toumani and Chris and Jeremy and have Denny fill in. Denny is a good defender, but has not been one this year. He's capable of being a good defender, has not been one this year, and Shaedon Sharpe has never been a good defender. And so it's like, but that's probably your best 5 dudes who are available tonight. Those are probably your best 5 players. You can make a case that Sidi Sissoko is better than Chris Murray. I might make that case. But I think Murray makes less mistakes. His floor can be higher because he defends at a high level and he's strong. But you're down 9. But they get back in it. Ryan Rupert has 12 points in the second quarter. He gets hot. I think Roops, and I'll talk about him in a little bit. Like I thought he played with some juice after making some shots. Like I thought you could just like watch a young man play with confidence and a little more purpose after like, oh, the ball's going in and I'm going to get this opportunity. I'm going to crash the glass and get an offensive rebound, get a putback, and like, do things the right way. And then right before halftime, Denny Avdia does what Denny Avdia does, is he initiates a little bit of contact and goes up into a shooting motion. He gets bumped. I think it was a foul. It's kind of a soft foul call, but I think it's a foul. I think that's the way the rules work. And Denny's a really good foul drawing artist, and he got the call. And Herb Jones gets called for a foul, like basically as the buzzer sounds. They had to review it to see if it was before the half ended. And during that review, Herb Jones went over to the referees and said some bad words, and they threw him out of the game. A soft ejection to be sure. But the Blazers have now, rallied back. They're going to get some free throws. They were down 5 at the point of when they got the tech call. They get free throws. They go into halftime only down 2. And Herb Jones ain't coming back. One of the best defenders. The guy they're going to stick on Denny for most of the game anyways. This is for as shorthanded as they've been and for how little size they have and how few point guards they have. You're down 2 at halftime. You're in a good spot. And then the third quarter, they didn't really wilt. I thought the final 2 seconds of the third quarter set the tone for how poorly they were going to play the rest of the game. But the Blazers took the lead on 4 separate occasions in the third quarter, only led by 1 on each occasion, but they were right there, from down 2. They never like seized the game back and seized control or anything like that. But, they had that nice second quarter. They scored a bunch of points, 38 to be exact. And then they were kind of couldn't get, seize like the reins completely in this game, but we're like right there. And they led for the final time of the game with just over 4 minutes left. Chris Murray made a putback with 4:54 left, and there's a couple more possessions before they surrendered the lead. But the end of the third quarter, I think, is emblematic of what went wrong for this team. Blazers get a little run out. Jeremy Grant, in transition, gets a hit ahead, gets inside of the defender, kind of bodies him back and dunks, cuts the lead to 5 with 1.9 seconds left, and the Blazers don't play any defense for the final 1.9 of this game, not of the quarter, not a lick of interested or even remotely, aware defense. Jose Alvarado gets the ball, flings a half-court pass beyond half-court. It travels beyond half-court to Bryce McGowan's old friend, a former Blazers two-way player, old friend Bryce McGowan's. McGowan's has time to catch, take a dribble inside the logo, get to the top of the key. He's not like at the three-point line, still a deep 3, but it is clean catch, clean dribble, no contest on 3, a very light kind of half-ass contest from Jeremy Grant. Cash. Pelicans go up 8 heading into the fourth quarter. Just not a lick of awareness, not a lick of defense, not a lick of intensity, and that would define how this game ended. Pelicans open up the fourth quarter on a 27-9 run. They just blitzed them over the opening 8 minutes. The Blazers scored 9 points in the first 7.5 minutes of the quarter, and that is your ball game. From down 8, whoops! Now you're down. Down 8. Now you're down. Now you're down 24-26 after a Trey Murphy 3. Peace. It was over by the 4-minute mark. Non-competitive. The Blazers never had the ball with a chance to tie or take the lead in the fourth quarter. A non-competitive game. The closest they got was 4 after a Tumani Kamara layup. They immediately gave up a 3 to Bryce McGowan's, and he let them know. Blazers lose 143-120. That's your fastest recap in the West. Just a mess. Career high for CD Sissoko. We'll talk about him in a second. Ryan Rupert had 14 and 6 boards to go with 3 assists. He just hello, Roops. Welcome to the party. But the Pelicans scored 86 points in the paint. 86 points in the paint. 86 freaking points in the paint. They got to the rim all night long. Let's I'm going to switch to the positivity, but I'll say this and we'll kind of we'll circle back to it because I don't want to beat you down with this is. I don't think the sky is falling. I think it's just a straight really bad loss. With all of the built-in excuses, you have no point guards. You don't. The team was light on point guards, and then they all got hurt. You don't have any centers, right? Duop Reith is a center. He's more center than power forward in my mind, but he's not but big enough to play NBA center. He's a deep bench, kind of different type of look, shooting, stretchy center who you can get away with in small minutes, but he doesn't protect the rim, and he's not quick enough to like actually like really play small ball. He's kind of just a tweener caught in between those two spots, right? You're just going to be small in this game. You're not going to have a lot of ball handling, but I thought they lost this game just because of a lack of intensity. Certainly they shot bricks. They shot 14 of 48 from three. The Pelicans deployed the zone late in the game that I think really flummoxed the Blazers. They just did not beat the zone consistently. Either, just too much dribbling at the top of the key, or not taking advantage of the quick ball movement, or not just attacking and forcing off the dribble that initial help and beat your man, have the zone do what it does, which is kind of like work together and then beat that helping zone by moving the ball afterwards. They didn't get the ball to the middle of the zone enough. It's just all of those sort of simple things. They didn't overload the zone sometimes and to say okay, well, we're going to put too many guys on this side of the court. So you have to, even if it looks like bad spacing, it's going to split your defensive responsibilities, et cetera, right? Just the offense wasn't good. The defense never showed up, and I just don't think they played hard enough. I'll revisit that thought in the third segment, but I want to switch gears a little bit. Let's go with a little bit of positivity. I thought Sidi Sissoko and Ryan Rupert were straight up good in the first half. They were good basketball players. And if that's a thing, it kind of does change a little bit of your outlook. Let's try to find a brief silver lining. Join me in that second segment. First, though, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by Zocdoc. Listen, it's 2025. We are weeks away from 2026. It is time to take your health seriously, and Zocdoc makes that easier than ever, because so many times the reasons that you don't go get something checked out, or you wait a little bit to say, my elbow feels a little bit weird, but I'll just give it a few more days and then before visiting the doctor, is because it can be really hard to go find a doctor. This country makes it challenging, and Zocdoc helps remove some of those challenges. Staying healthy is more than hitting the gym and eating right. It's actually about getting things checked out when something feels off. Using Zocdoc makes scheduling appointments easier. You can search for in-network doctors and book right in the app. So the real appointment times are listed, including same-day visits. You can find a doctor that is in your network, and then you can see if they're available immediately, sometimes as quickly as the same day. I've actually used Zocdoc to book a same-day dentist appointment in a certain situation. Incredibly useful. Works for me and my whole family. Plus, if you're ever moving cities, Zocdoc, when you need to reestablish your sort of medical network, Zocdoc is a wonderful tool. Or if you're just, maybe switching insurances and you need to reestablish that your medical network, Zocdoc makes that so simple. Helps you stay on top of your health before something becomes a bigger problem. And the app is quick, clean, and honestly removes all the stress from finding the right doctor. So stop putting off your doctor's appointments and get the care you need. Go to Zocdoc.com/LockedOnNBA to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. All right. If you're an everyday listener to this episode, if you're someone who never misses an episode, particularly as an audio listener, it's time to make it official. Join the Locked On Everydayer Club and get ad-free audio of this very podcast. This same podcast without the ads, plus access to our members-only Discord and more. It's Locked On Blazers with no interruptions, and it's all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonblazers.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Let's talk a little positivity. Let me hit you with a little positivity. Sidi Sissoko and Ryan Rupert had probably their best games of the season. They kept the Blazers in the game in that first half, and the reason the Blazers were only down 2 at halftime was, one, a pretty weak ejection from the officials on Herb Jones, and 2, because Roops and Sidi were really good in that first half. They were the Blazers' leading scorers at halftime. The Blazers, Denny Avdia wasn't very good in this game. He was 5 of 15 from the floor. Jeremy Grant wasn't very good in this game, 6 of 19. I thought Shaedon Sharpe was fine on offense. I thought he had some really tough possessions on defense. But Shaedon was not alone in that, but he was probably their best offensive player in this game, other than maybe CD Sissoko. Sissoko goes, but those are the guys they depend on, right? Like they kind of, it's like the reason that you highlight them is because you just you're asking more of them, right? You need for better or for worse, the ask of Denny Avdia is massive. They need him to be a star, and for the most part this season, he has been a star. I would say the last couple games he's struggled a little bit. Some of that might just be workload. Some of that might just be the nature of the sport where you have a couple bad games in a row. But whatever it is, they need more from Denny, and that is just the hard ask for them. They certainly could have needed Shaedon Sharpe to be better and more consistent this year. He's had his moments, but it's always a consistency thing with him. And Jeremy Grant, I think, started out really, really good and has for the most part been a good player, but was not particularly good in this game. He misses 13 shots and scores 16 points. It's he's 1 of 7 from 3, and they don't have places often where they can get scoring other places, except maybe they do. CD Sissoko, I mentioned in my Blazers Optimism podcast with Travis Demers. If you missed it, there's still reasons for optimism, and you can go back and revisit that in wherever you listen to this, in your feed. Earlier this week, when Travis joined the program, we talked a little Blazers optimism, and CD was one of my reasons, biggest silver linings of the Blazers start, his biggest reasons for optimism, because an outcome like CD Sissoko, where you find a two-way player who's 21 years old, who is clearly an NBA rotation player. Maybe not a really high-level NBA rotation player, but he just does enough stuff that you feel good about him. He's big. He defends. He can pass a little bit. He can, he has for his size, he has a decent enough handle. And while he is, not shooting particularly well from 3 on the year, he shot a little better recently. And, tonight, 3 of 6 from 3, trending in the right direction, and he had 20 points to go along with 4 boards and 2 assists in his 32 minutes. He wasn't in the starting lineup, and he still came off the bench and was really good. He has been a big time starter. I think CD this was an outlier game in terms of his scoring output. But I think this is continuing a trend where he's been straight up helpful. He was helpful in a new way tonight, but this is a legitimately good outcome of the Blazers season, where it's just they cannot get healthy. They're just suddenly they're dropping games. They're losing to the worst team in the Western Conference. Things are going awry. And CD Sissoko is hey, remember that this stuff is pretty hard to get right? Well, seems like they got this right. I'm not trying to tell you that Sissoko is a high-end starter, future. It's but the Blazers, you churn through a lot of two-way players. That is just the nature of those types of contracts. They're developmental players. Most of those guys are not going to hit, and there's a reason that they ended up on two-way contracts to begin with for the most part. And Sissoko looks like he's going to play. He looks like he's capable in the league of doing stuff and fitting the Blazers ethos right along the way. I wouldn't be surprised if CD ends up with an NBA contract this year. If the Blazers, they're going to have to make some moves to make that happen. But it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up on an NBA contract at the end of the season. I think him getting the Hinkie special 4 years of minimum contract, I think that certainly could be coming for him. Ryan Rupert has mostly been bad this year. Let's keep it a buck. He has been disappointing, not in a way that's shocking necessarily by any means, but he just hasn't taken, it's his 3rd year in the league. He didn't play very much his sophomore year, and they just didn't play him very much. I don't think he earned those minutes. The Blazers would have to give him those minutes, but they never gave him those minutes. They never offered that gift to him. He played less as a sophomore than he did as a rookie, which is it's fine, happens across the league, but it was a little weird in the moment for where the Blazers were as a basketball team, particularly the first half of the season. It's dang, Roops is the guy who's getting squeezed, huh? But it is what it is. They're now beyond that, and now he's scrapping at the end of the rotation. He's getting DNPs sometimes. Clearly hasn't earned a high level of trust from the coaching staff. And so on a night like this, where he just has to play because they don't have enough bodies, this is the exact thing you do to earn yourself back into the rotation. Nailing these little forced cameos is how you say, hey, give me another one. And I thought Roops was, 14 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, had 2 steals. He comes in sometimes and tries to do a little bit too much. He'll drive into nowhere, or he'll commit a foul 85 feet from the rim, chasing down an offensive rebound, just like running through someone's back. And it's like, it's not that he's not playing hard, it's that he's not playing smart. It's misplaced effort. It's as Terry Stotts once told me, if you're playing hard but playing wrong, it doesn't matter how hard you're playing. It is so, like, I think sometimes misplaced effort. He just is a little chaotic. I felt like in this game he got rhythm early, and then he continued to play with the sort of verve that sometimes he plays with, but with just so much more confidence and purpose, I think is the way to say that. He played with so much more purpose. I don't think Ryan Rupert is going to have 14-6 and 3 very often, because I don't think he's going to play 24 minutes a night, but I like that he made shots, 2 of 4 from 3. He was aggressive. I thought he picked his spots as to be a hustle guy and a cutter, and I thought this was just a really useful Roops game, and he needs to see some positivity, and it helps. If Roops can be something closer to this in smaller doses, right? He's not going to get 11 shots most games. He's going to get something like 3 if he plays, 3 to 5, maybe 2 to 5. So it's like, because you are a small minute guy, you've got to be smart decision making, and then when you do have your opportunities, cash them in. Make your shots. If you get a wide open shot, knock it down. If you have an opportunity to chase offensive rebounds, go get them. Those types of things. And I think this was a great step in the right direction for Roops. Like in a season where he hasn't had a lot of bright spots, to have this first half kind of keep the Blazers in it. Really, really nice moment for Rupert, and will probably lead to him getting some future opportunities. But like, opportunity is not a lengthy visitor. You are going to have the window is going to be small. So if Roops could quite frankly get a DNP-CD depending on who's healthy on Sunday, but I assume he'll play, because I bet it won't be that different in terms of wings and guards. And if he does, then this is the type of, it doesn't need to be this exact production, but the purpose and the confidence and the sort of less, more positives than negatives in terms of like how you use that effort. I think that's really key. And I think this is a big first step for Roops. Okay. But this game sucked. Let's be honest. This is a bad basketball game. They played bad. I think there is a bigger picture thing here, and I want to discuss that because, built-in excuses, right? There's no doubt about it. No point guards, no centers. They've been on the road for a cajillion years. Look who they are playing, and look what that team is going through, and then tell me that fourth quarter is some sort of excusable, it happens type of thing. I don't believe that. And even if I'm like, I don't feel necessary. Join me in the third segment. I got stuff to say. Come on with me. Before we do that, though, I want to tell you that today's program is brought to you by Quo. New year, new systems, and this is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of running a business and think, there has to be a better way. And there is. Today's episode brought to you by Quo. That's spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. If you're ready to make your workday smoother and keep customers connected without the headaches, Quo makes upgrading your setup easier than ever. A streamlined system makes such a big difference when you're communicating with customers. Having calls, texts, and voicemails in one clean view keeps everything organized, and that's what Quo does. You're going to be able to share one phone number with your entire team, so you make sure that nothing gets missed. Plus, they got AI summaries and call logging. It's surprisingly easy. You can work from your phone. It works on your desktop, and you can keep your existing number and add your teammates in minutes. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnba. That's QUO.com/lockedonnba. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. Today's show is also brought to you by the good folks over there at FanDuel. NFL Sundays are coming back. You're probably going to be watching your fantasy football team, and you know how it goes. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting in real time with FanDuel. You can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight, every momentum. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. Receiver gets hot, defense tightens up, or the momentum flips on a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines that are adjusting instantly as the game happens. Player props and update as guys heat up or guys cool off. You can bet next touchdown score, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked in. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action, FanDuel.com is the place that you need to visit. Place your live NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Still a pass versus point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond. You're still listening to Locked On Blazers. Let's be honest. This one stunk. And as I mentioned, right, like, I think in the grand scheme, if the Blazers lose this game, and if they lose this game in a similar fashion, shooting 30% from three, it wouldn't really, like, coming in this game, I said, like, hey, the Pelicans are horrendous on defense, but their offense has been pretty good. They dropped $143 on the Blazers. Like, yeah, like the way to beat them recently, when I've watched, tuned into some of their games, I'm not going to lie, like I'm watching many Pelicans games, but I've watched regular quarters of Pelicans games, particularly fourth quarters, how I like to watch League Pass. Like, ooh, I'm going to check out the end of this. Like, they're just... They can't stop teams typically. But if the Blazers had just like shot bricks and lost this game, like 135, 143, because it was a night where they shot bricks, I don't think I'd be that worried. In the grand scheme, this game isn't worrying because, like, yeah, they're going to get Klingon back and that'll help. They got crushed on the offensive glass. They gave 86 points in the paint. They just got no bigs, right? They'll get Rob Williams back. He's been helpful. They'll get Young Hansen back just for like another big body to show some, to have another option to have a giant person in the game if need be. At some point, their guards will get healthy. It sounds like, Drew Holiday's we're probably not going to see Drew Holiday on Sunday. I'd be stunned, but there's a chance we see Drew in the latter half of December, maybe as soon as next Thursday. I'd say that's the very earliest is that December 18th for my real heads, next Thursday. That'd be the earliest we possibly see him. But it's like, maybe Christmas you get Drew back and then you get Matisse back. I'd say like somewhere in the post-Christmas New Year range, you could get Scoot Henderson back. So like at some point you're going to get better. The roster is going to be more balanced, right? And the roster is they're going to have guards and centers again, and it'll just be a little bit better. But what worried me about this game was just the energy and focus. I thought right away the Pelicans played harder than the Blazers. And here's where I don't like. So I recognize and accept all the built-in excuses, but the Pelicans are not good, and they're also dealing with injuries. They're also playing youngsters and Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen. They're also, they're dipping relatively deep into their bench. They're playing freaking Bryce McGowan's 30 minutes, right? Like, it's not that dissimilar from what the Blazers are dealing with in the grand scheme of things. Sure, they got like Jordan Poole back and he was effective, but you got to hope that at some point that like Shaedon Sharpe is a significantly better player than Jordan Poole, right? It's like, and the Blazers, like in theory, at their best, are like even with the rosters as they were tonight, are just like more talented than the Pelicans, but they weren't. And then the Pelicans lose Herb Jones, and they still don't do anything. They still can't get right? They lose their best. A bad defensive team lose their best perimeter defender. They still can't get right. Bryce McGowan's does whatever he wants. Jose Alvarado had a backcourt steal against Denny. What is more troubling to me about this game is you're shorthanded, you're tiny. How are you not the team that is playing harder? I saw a quote from Jalen Williams of Oklahoma City. And it's like, you can't get bored with winning. And I feel like sometimes with bad teams, or like mediocre teams or whatever the Blazers are, right? And they're not like truly terrible, but they're not obviously one of the good teams. But for teams that are kind of finding their way, the mark of teams that you feel better about are the teams that always bring it. And I thought the Blazers didn't bring it tonight. Even with their obvious shortcomings personnel-wise, I thought they didn't bring it. I thought they didn't play hard enough. They didn't play with purpose. I thought they let too many dudes get into the rim and like get into the paint, a million paint touches. Like at some point, take some pride and keep someone in front of you. Like, as bad as the Blazers were going to be once dudes got to the rim, they had enough guys out there to guard your yard in space, right? Like to guard in space and play switchy and play hard and at least be the team that is clearly playing with more energy. If you lose because the shots don't fall or you can't, solve the zone in the final 6 minutes, so be it. If you lose because over the opening 8 minutes of the fourth quarter, the other team just avalanched you and you never played a competitive minute in the fourth quarter, that's a little more troubling. And I think this gets to the bigger picture. Last year, I was pretty critical of the Blazers for missing sort of their emotional core. And I said that like Joe Cronin had kind of ignored the necessity of having an emotional leader. He had kind of, in the way that he had approached roster building, he had ignored the importance of having not just veterans, but the right type of veterans on the roster, the type of folks that can, when things are going wrong, that have that gravitas and all of those things. And he's clearly addressed that this year. He got Drew Holiday is the right type of veteran. Damian Lillard's not on the trip. It's harder if he's not playing to be the type of leader they really need, but he has certainly provided some of that this year. It's a little bit different though, if you're not in the game. What types of motivational stuff you're able to get across in the heat of the moment. But like the return of Rob Williams, the addition of Drew Holiday, sort of the growth and maturity of you're hoping that like guys like Tumani and Denny get there. And I think like for the most part, it's the older gentleman. It's Rob Williams is a pretty old 28-year-old. He's like the oldest 28-year-old in the world. But like, with a true experience of Drew Holiday, it's like, I thought they addressed that. But here's what I am curious about. I think that Thiago Splitter seems like a very smart X's and O's guy. I think he has a strong understanding of basketball style he wants to play, and implementing that style and getting the guys kind of like to stylistically achieve what he envisions as the best version of this team. But I think what Chauncey Billups, if there was one thing he was good at, it was the soft stuff. It was keeping guys motivated. It was when he did, pull players out of the lineup here and there. It's like getting them to stay together and not buy in. And I think what this test will be over the next, say, 2 weeks, while the Blazers hopefully get closer to health, and while they're just shorthanded and going to have some tough nights. And clearly when you lose to the 3-22, now 4-22 New Orleans Pelicans, you are capable of losing any game at any time. It's the soft stuff. Keeping guys together, getting guys to refocus. It's the refocusing. It's the rebuying in. It's not just teaching and getting them to buy the initial sell of your vision of how to play basketball. It's steps beyond that. It's the stuff that follows. It's, hey, this has been a tough week. We've been on the road forever. We're going to, fly back and have a little kumbaya moments on Saturday. And what do you look like coming out on Sunday? And I think that'll be a fascinating test. I think for me, the interesting part that I guess I'll get to learn by watching and maybe judge from watching his team react is how does Splitter handle the soft stuff, the soft magic of coaching? Because I think while I think Billups struggled at some of the hard magic of coaching, like the actual stuff, like the soft magic was always the thing that made him special, was that those social skills. I just don't know Splitter that well as a coach or a person to tell you what my perception is, but I think this is a great time to find out. What kind of vets do you have in the team? What kind of coach do you have in the big chair to guide a team that looked like they just didn't have it and didn't play with much purpose on Thursday evening, are going to go back out and have, the schedule's still pretty light, Sunday and then again on Thursday, December 18th against the Kings. Like they'll have some more time off. They have a lighter schedule and a chance to respond to a bad loss and a string of tough losses in Memphis and now in New Orleans to respond to back-to-back kind of beatdowns. We'll see. That's going to do it for today's show. A reminder, if you made it this far in the show, join the Everydayer Club. Ad-free audio over this podcast, access to the members-only Discord, Locked On Blazers, no interruptions, $5 a month, $50 a year. Go to lockedonblazers.supercast.com, and that link is in the show notes, and you can learn more about it. Tell your friends about the podcast, wherever they get podcasts, and also on YouTube. I appreciate you listening. I will talk to you soon.